you have to approach, every player, every situation. Every day is different. And I think working with young women and women helped me connect to that more than even working with men. Not because men aren't humans,
Right.
but I think women highlight the importance as a coach of trying your best to connect to who she is, what's important to her, important to the player, why are they playing, what are their motivations. Those things are most important before you can even really coach and teach, and the player being open to your coaching and teaching. So there were areas where I failed in that, and there are areas where I was able to be successful. But I feel like coaching in W accelerated that growth process of understanding the individual relationship with players being so important to team success.
Absolutely. And so, and coaching and we hear it all the time that there has to be equality as far as the focus and of women's basketball.
Mm-hmm.
I love watching women's basketball because it's fundamentally pure, but also you're starting to see now the athleticism and the female athlete and the things that they're capable of doing that I think some men can't do on the court. And so if you really watch and the detail that they play with, it's a pure basketball experience. And how do we, or not we, but people who are casually involved with basketball start to enjoy that, start to embrace that more? What should they be looking for? What should be supporting?
That's a good question, man. I think we have a responsibility to the game of basketball to support girls basketball and women's basketball in the same ways we support boys and men's basketball. Doesn't mean that WNBA players are going to make the same money as NBA players. And to be, I think the way I would try to dive into it, it would be for us to stop comparing the two as well.
Yeah.
Like anytime we try to compare somebody to somebody else, we're already wrong.
We can lose it, yeah.
Because they're two different people, right? And so the NBA and the WNBA, although they have three of the same letters in their name, completely different, situation. And so comparing the women's game to the men's game, I think that's where we go wrong, because then the expectations are that, well, why aren't they this? Why isn't this happening? Well, you're comparing it to something that's not apples to apples. It's literally apples and oranges, completely different. So why are we comparing these things? We should be appreciating them each for what they do. So when you watch women play, appreciate the skill and the thought going into what she just did, because she doesn't maybe have the genetic ability or the God-given ability to just jump over the basket and make a play. Like, she really has to think about before she jumps.
Yes.
What am I going to do?
The craftiness, the skill set, the IQ.
Yeah. So I think not comparing it would help. And I think oftentimes when we see something in person, we feel different about virtually how we saw it. You know what I mean? It's like all the Zoom meetings and even people watching this. If they saw you in person, saw us in person, their conversation is completely different than them watching us from on camera. And so I think most people haven't even been to a women's game or a WNBA game or a high-level college or even high school game to really see the grace and the athleticism that does exist on the women's side on its own right, without comparing it to how men move, run, jump, etc. But that's a societal thing that we've just conditioned generations before us, including us, to see the women's game as less than. But I am excited to see the growth, and that the generations coming are not going to see it that way. They're just going to see it as women's game, men's game, not more or less, just different.
Yes. No, I like that. That gives me a lot of perspective. I've worked with WNBA players and been to games and never thought of it from that perspective of it's not the NBA. It is its own sport entity and what it does. And I've understood those things in watching it, but thinking of it that way does give it more of an even playing field, even in my head, because when you're around both NBA players and you're seeing this high level of athleticism and all these other things, and then basketball doesn't change, the skill set doesn't change when you're working with a male or a female. And so that gives me perspective. So thank you for that.
No
So
doubt.
to leave that comparison. Now do yourself a favor and go to a WNBA game. They're live all summer. LA, go to Vegas, go see the Aces, go somewhere and watch a WNBA game. So check it out.